that people use when they experience anger. Again, this is very generic. It's about all experiences of anger. But number one, we see direct confrontation.
That's right.
I'm going to get in your face. I'm going to strike out at you emotionally and physically, and I'm going to let you feel the pain.
That's right. I'm going to cause pain.
Number two, we see what's called emotional isolation. And when we talk about emotional isolation, what I typically see is the silent treatment.
Yeah, that's the number. I think that's the number one way that one is shown.
The silent treatment.
I'm not talking to you.
I'm not talking to you. And you can't make me talk to you. So I'm going to go to the bedroom and close the door. And guess what? You can knock if you want, but I'm going to ignore that.
Leave me alone.
And, part of the modern day technology is we get a lot of our partners, they quit text messaging. They turn off their phones. See that I know you want to talk to me.
And when you really want to make them upset, you put on the block.
Oh, the call block? So you don't even know they're calling?
They can't even get through to you. I mean, that is that emotional isolation very, very strongly.
And then finally, if you will, the idea that emotional isolation, you're avoiding contact, you're punishing the person that loves you, that has expectations that you will show that warm regard. Okay?
That's right.
Number three, physical forms of isolation. Now, here what I'm talking about is where people, especially couples that are having problems, they go through the efforts to isolate them financially, to isolate them from their possessions, to maybe destroy their reputation to friends and family, say things that aren't true. But I'm going to take actions to isolate you or limit you to access to those things that would typically be expected.
I changed the password on the account, so now you can't look at it online.
Oh, yeah.
Or I take all the money out. I go open a new account and, I take all the money because, it was a joint account, so it's my money.
It's kind of relevant in a sense, but not as nice as your story was. But I actually had a guy that went to work, etc., thought about it, came up with a locksmith, changed the locks to the door so his girlfriend couldn't get in. Yeah. So when she went home, she couldn't get in, but he was inside.
So she's trying to key in thinking she's at the right house. And
had no idea.
Yeah.
And then finally, number four, the idea of uncertainty because I give you mixed messages. In other words, I ask if you're unhappy and I say, I'm fine. But you say it in such a way that you're not fine.
Yeah, you can tell. The person doesn't look it. Their tone doesn't show it. Their words are the only thing that are consistent with that message there.
Where Cary's getting onto is we put together a formula for communications. And I did this. I was teaching at one of the universities. I had some psychology students that were trying to learn this idea of communications. I had them do a little bit of a test. And what we came up with after they evaluated how a person's words are congruent with their facial expressions and body language, and we came up with this idea, this formula, if you will, that 59% of the meaning that has to do with your communicating is transmitted through your verbals, your nonverbals, your facial expressions, and your body language.
Nonverbals, your body language and your facial expression are the majority, the largest component of how we communicate.
So when you got a smile on your face and you say you're happy, that's congruent, but you can at times say you have a smile on your face and say you're unhappy, and that causes some miscommunication.